I walk into the classroom and immediately feel it is teetering on losing control. I have observed Mrs. Jones before and know she's a great teacher, but even she seems to be struggling. As I continue observing, I begin to question her teaching strategies, thinking that I would handle it much better if it was me teaching. Within a few seconds, the children are directed to begin their individual work time, and I am asked to walk around and assist when needed. Little do I know my chance has come, and I'm about to reteach the entire lesson. As I begin walking, a child raises their hand and I sit down and begin to help them. While I attempt to teach, the child across the table pushes his paper under my nose and asks for my help. I tell him I will be with him in a moment and go back to teaching the first student. Tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. Another student has walked across the room and is asking for my attention. I look in Mrs. Jones' direction, hoping that I will be able to direct some of these students to her, only to find that she has a line of 5 or 6 students herself. Great. Just me, on my own, with an ever-increasing number of needy students. Within 2 minutes, I've been encircled. Papers are constantly being pushed in my face. My ears are ringing with "Teacher, teacher," and I've begun to ignore the constant tapping on my left shoulder. Mrs. Jones then tells the class that they cannot attend recess until their math assignment is complete. The intensity of the children's requests immediately increase, and I continue to attempt to teach the material until the blank, confused looks disappear or at least diminish off of my students' faces. A draining 15 minutes pass, and the 5 students that made it to recess return, and Mrs. Jones insists that we move on to reading. The children encircling me shrug and walk to their cubbies and place their partially completed assignments inside. I realize as they walk away that despite all my energy and hard work, the majority of them are still as lost as they were when math began today. All that time and energy has been wasted. I ask myself, what went wrong? How, in all that time, were the children unable to understand the material? Later, I discuss the events of the day with Mrs. Jones. The majority of the students in her class are of Hispanic ethnicity, and many of them are English second language learners. She feels that the majority of them barely understand the words she's saying, let alone the lesson she is trying to teach. Mrs. Jones also discusses her inability to communicate with the students' parents due to the language barrier, and therefore making the students' education a team effort impossible. The amount of help the students receive at home with their schoolwork is very small, making the at-home practice that leads to perfection non-existent. I'm amazed with the growing need of resources and further education for our teachers. The classrooms in America are changing at a rapid rate, and our teachers are destined for failure by no fault of their own. They have an inability to get through the material because their students cannot access it. They do not have enough translators to work with parents as often as necessary. This issue needs our attention now. As our classrooms grow, they will continue to grow more and more diverse. We need to ensure our teachers are being provided with the tools to effectively teach their ever-changing classroom of students.